All right, so today I'm going to give you a hack to generate $100,000 in the next 90 days. And I got to tell you what, if you take me seriously, you're going to be like, Todd, man, that worked. So I want to see if you've got the guts to do it. And I got to tell you what, this is probably some of the lowest hanging fruit that you're gonna find. So I'm gonna take you back to a time a few years ago when I used to have all of my acquisition specialists, my sales reps, right? My people who used to talk to sellers. And by the way, if you're listening to this and you're a one-man show or you're trying to do your first deal, all that means is that I had people who were calling motivated seller leads, right? They were calling lists of people who owned real estate who might have a problem. And so if you're just listening to this and you're like, hey, Todd, I just want to do my first deal, or Todd, I just want to do my next deal, and I'm kind of intimidating you with these acquisition specialists, don't lose heart, right? Is that this works for anybody. This can work for you. So even if, you've only done one deal or you haven't done any deal, you can use this to make 100K in 90 days. As a matter of fact, I actually think if you're new, you might have an advantage over the seasoned person because they might not see the opportunity and they might not be as hungry as you. So long story short, when we used to bring somebody on new and they were hungry, right? They were not jaded. We used to take them and say, okay, we want you to work all of these old leads, right? All of these cold, dead leads that have been sitting in our database. And what I mean by database, that's just a list of sellers who we may have talked to before who didn't seem all that motivated, right? So I want you to go back into that database and I want you to call somebody and find someone who's got a problem. Now, these were lists of people that our entire team had turned down, right? Where no one wanted to call these people because they said there was nothing there. And I always used to say, hey, you know what? There's $250,000 sitting in the database right now. All you have to do is get on the phone and make that happen. Now, of course, the title of this episode was how to generate $100,000, but I'm telling you right now, there could be 250 waiting for you right now. Now, if you're thinking, Todd, I don't have a database, I'm brand new, don't worry. I'm going to show you how to get one for free with absolutely no risk. So I'm going to blow your mind. Okay, well, long story short, right now, the year is coming to a close and a lot of investors are kind of starting to slow down, right? They're starting to, lift their guard up. And by the way, I don't care what time of year this is, but I always like to do this because this is when you can catch people sleeping, right? You can line up your year. And so whatever you're doing right now, this may be the beginning of less, people have a hangover coming out of Thanksgiving and Christmas. So this is a great, great, great thing to do right now. So what I want you to do is I want you to go into your database. And again, if you don't have one, I'm gonna show you how to get one here in a second. And I want you to call all of your hot, your cold, your discovery. And what I mean by discovery is people who we have not been able to get a hold of. Maybe they called in and we have not been able to get them back on the phone. And people who said no, we usually label those as cold. And what I want you to do is approach them with a fresh perspective and ask them if they are ready to do business. Now, one of the things I always recommend is if you can't call them all by hand, there's too many. I recommend that you use a dialer. So if you can go to, if you have a dialer, you can go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/dialer. You could upload your entire database to a dialer and you could start just calling people like a machine gun. You can call like 1,000 people a day, like no problem, right? So you can try that. If you don't have that, you can also hand dial these people and call, 100 people a day, no problem. It basically takes about 20, and take an hour to call about 20 people by hand. And so if you're working 4 hours a day, hey, you can call 80 people a day, no problem. But I want you to approach all of these people, your entire database, and approach them like you've never spoken to them before. Don't read the notes. Don't prep for the call. Don't, convince yourself that there's not a problem there. And call people and revisit the original offer, if you even gave them an offer, but revisit the conversation. And number one, you're going to find that at least one seller right now has had a change of situation in which they are motivated. That's the first thing. But here's the second part that I'm going to talk about this is, by the way, just doing that right now, you could find $100,000 worth of deals. So I would, number one, load them up to a dialer if I could. Number two, if I couldn't do that, I would do it by hand. Number three, I would text them. Four, I would email them. I would leave voice messages and I'd leave some videos, right, with these people. So go ahead and do stuff that other people won't. Very, very, very important. And I would follow up with those people. By the way, I also might just do a direct mail campaign of people who I've already talked to, right? Export that out of my database and send people a mailer. So I would start there. And that alone, if you just stop now, could get you another $100,000 here in the next 90 days. But let me give you another hack. And one of the things that I've talked a lot about on this podcast that we've pivoted a lot because of the current market is novation deals. Novation deals. And so a lot of people who had nicer properties and good locations, but they were just kind of outdated, right? We couldn't do the deal because a seller was requiring us to pay too much. They were asking too much to do a novation deal. Now, we still needed to do a deal, right? But they were just asking too much for a cash deal. We said no. Now, I don't know about you, but I've got a lot of properties in our database that were in livable condition that we came too low on price. But if I could sell that house to a retail buyer, right, without actually buying it, I could make money. So what is the difference between a wholesale deal and a novation deal? Well, a wholesale deal is you lock up a property with a motivated seller, right? They've got a problem. You lock it under contract for a very, very low price. And you have to buy it low enough so that you could sell it to a cash buyer who's going to fix it and flip it, usually, and make a profit, right? And so they have all kinds of costs. They have the buying cost, they have the renovation cost, they have the holding cost, they have the selling cost. It's a lot of money. So you've got to buy pretty deep, right? You got to buy at a significant discount. Well, in comes novation. So let's pretend like you've got a property and it's, it's in decent condition, right? But it's outdated. Maybe grandma lived there and it's got appliances from, the 1980s and, the cabinets are old as dirt, but man, they're nice, right? Maybe the carpet is in good condition, but a little smelly, right? No problem, right? But, the outside of the house is good condition. Maybe grandpa painted, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, and it's in pretty darn good condition. What you can do now is go under contract with the seller to purchase. You then list the property on the MLS, right, for a price that a retail buyer would pay. Now, the beauty of this is that a retail buyer will always pay more than a cash buyer who's making a profit. Right now, are they going to pay less for that property than a fully rehabbed property? Yes, but they're going to pay way more than a cash buyer. Okay. And the beauty of this is because of that, you could pay the seller some more money. So for example, let's pretend there was a house that was all fixed up. It'd sell for $350. Right now in today's market for a cash buyer, I'm going to have to lock that up for $200, sell it at $250, right? So that eventually a cash buyer could buy it, fix it and flip it and make $350. Seller might say no to that. In this scenario though, let's pretend that that same house, I could go to that seller and instead of offer him 200, I now can offer that seller, let's say 260, right? I could stick that house on the market now for 310, right? That retail buyer, they're going to see that house and say, wow, this is a great deal, right? All the other houses are 350. I could buy this for 310. I could get in here, just do a little paint, we could, change and remodel the bathrooms ourselves. What a deal, right? I came up for 60 on the 1,000. Remember, it's still got to be a deal, right? But I negotiate, I put the two people together, right? Through the concept of novation. You can listen to some of my other podcasts on that. And now I can make, I don't know, a $30,000 profit on this after all that spread. So where am I going with the show? Go back in our database and see those deals that you missed. Now you may be thinking, Todd, how much can I pay for this property? Okay, well, one of the things I always recommend is just look what these similar properties are selling as is right now. All you got to do is put that number in. You can ask a broker and put it in the special calculator that I'm going to give you here in a second. Okay, you put it in that number in a special calculator and it's going to spit out the exact calculation that you need. It's super easy, no thinking, no calculating. Just put in the number, it's going to spit that out. So my gift to you, go to novationcalculator.com, novationcalculator.com, download the calculator. It'll spit out the number. You know exactly what you can pay, okay? And then you can offer that price to the seller. You can list it with a good broker, put the two together, and get paid at the end. The details of that, you can listen to some other podcasts. If you want to know more actually about that, though, you can go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/DTR. This is actually the specific hardcore training program that I have for Novation. So check out nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/DTR. Now, really important. I'll mention this really quick. You're thinking, Todd, I would have seen those deals. The answer to that is no. So we all have this thing called the reticular activation system. Okay, if I said that wrong, forgive me. But long story short, what is that? It means that we don't see things that we are not looking for. One of my coaches, Dan Sullivan, I've been personally coached by Dan Sullivan, and he says, your eyes only see and your ears only hear what the brain is looking for. I'm going to repeat that. Your eyes only see and your ears only hear what the brain is looking for. So now that we've done this podcast, right, you're like, Todd, I'm going to look for those deals. Now you're going to see them all over the place. But I guarantee you that if you were not specifically looking for them, I'll tell you what, that system, you would not have seen them. Okay. Just like, your car, you probably see, the car that you drive everywhere. Meanwhile, if you drive a different car than me, I've probably never seen the car that you've seen. So for me, let's see, I really like Hummers, right? So I see Hummers everywhere, right? And so I notice them, right? And so for you, you've got to now turn on that system in your brain that says, I'm going to go look for these in the database. A light bulb's going to come on, and now they're going to draw to you like a magnet. Now, I made a promise to you. You're thinking, Todd, I don't have a database. Okay. By the way, even if you do have a database, here's how you can pull even more than $100,000 here in the next 90 days. I could tell you that there is an epidemic of wholesalers who have spent money on marketing, who have cold called, who have texted, who have mailed, who have spent money on marketing right now, who are not following up on their leads. How do I know? Because I've coached all of the nation's best wholesalers. Now, of course, when I say all, probably not everyone, right? But there's a coaching tree that comes back to me. And by the way, I'm happy for that. And proud of that. But where I see, and I talk to not only the people who I've coached, but the people who are coaching the students, the number one thing I see is a lack of real follow-up, where people spend the money, but they don't want to do the work. Well, in comes you, where you provide value and say, Mr. Wholesaler, I'll tell you what, I know there's a good chance that you're not following up on all your leads correctly right now. Is that true? Yes. Let me dig into your entire database, the stuff that you just kind of thrown to the side that you're not following up on. Okay, let me dig into those. Let me do a Novation deal on these, which you're not even doing. I'm highly trained by Todd Toback. And let me call up and we'll split these deals 50-50, right? So I'm going to take your trash. I'll do the deal. You don't have to do anything. Just give me the leads. I'll call them up and let's split those deals 50-50. So if you're brand new, you could do that. Or if you've got a database, you could partner with all of your local quote unquote competition, right? And partner with them to do these deals on the leads that are sitting in their database, just rotting away. And they need you to come and fix them. Now, some of you are going to take me seriously and make this happen. And other people are just going to let this episode kind of just fly by. And I can tell you what, those of you who listen to me are going to have $100K sitting in your bank account in the next 90 days. So just to summarize, remember every time I used to hire someone brand new, fresh perspective, they used to go in there, they used to call the database, and what do you know? They used to pull out money every single time. No joke. This is not some theory. It works. Number two, you can do this if you're just getting started or seasoned. Number three, go in your database, look at all the hot, cold leads, discovery, people who you couldn't get a hold of, people who said no. Go back, see if their situation has changed, see if you could do a traditional deal. If not, turn on your Novation brain. Can you now novate these deals, the houses that are in decent condition, right? Can you now change the deal structure because now you have a new exit strategy? By the way, if you want to know what to pay for a Novation deal, right, go to novationcalculator.com. You could download that for free. That's my gift to you. Remember, if you think that you've seen these deals before or that you might have seen them, remember now that you're specifically looking for them, they're going to pop up everywhere, right? Remember that system in your brain. Lastly, you could partner with somebody else who's got a database, or you could use your own. Even if you've got your own, partner with 5 or 6 people right now. Get that database, put it up in a dialer, call them up manually, text them, email them, leave them voicemail, send a video. I don't care. Get them back on the phone and lock up a big, fat, juicy, monster Novation deal. And I'm talking $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a pop, right? You only need to do 2 of those to make $100K, right? You do 10, you could be looking between $300,000 and $500,000 for the year. So do not sleep on this. Go ahead, download that calculator, novationcalculator.com, and I will talk to you on the next episode.